Hello, everybody. Welcome to a regular episode of Comics Rant. I am your host, Arvin Bautista, and this is the Free Comic Book Day episode for 2024. I went to a different comic book store this year because I had to take my kids, and there was a class that it was kind of far from where my regular comic book store was. And we found another one. It was called Conspiracy Comics, and it's a great place. A nice store. They would give away 5 free comic books to anybody that really walked in there. 5 free ones, and then if you buy something, I had thought it had to be a high ticket item. Anyway, you buy something, anything, and you get another 5. And there were a lot. So I'm a DC guy. That's why this is right here in front. But I will show you the loot that my kids and I got. So this is kind of a mix because I've actually been to my regular comic book store that's in the city in San Francisco, Mission Comics and Art. And they just had more free ones. So we just got more, more comics, lots more. I was with one of my children and my wife. And so we got all sorts of stuff. So my wife got 5. I got 5. My kid got 5. And then I bought something from Conspiracy Comics and I got another 5. So we got all sorts of things. And it was a lot of free comics, guys. Like, I don't remember it being, or the stores having this much free comics on those days. If you're not familiar with Free Comic Book Day, it's the one day that's kind of like a marketing push for free comics. And your comic book store will have specially designated comics, and publishers will make special ones for that day just to give away. And they really work like marketing tools, really, like a free comic that gets you hooked in, that gives you that statement. And then if you want, then you can keep buying the series or graphic novels. So my kids like The Witches of Brooklyn. This was in the library, and now they have a whole lot more of these books. I think there's 3. Very cool stuff. I'm just going to go through them real quick. Young Jedi. I don't think they even actually read this. Barkham Asylum. Johnny Quest. Dogman is always a winner. By the way, so these colored label things, I think I kind of knew what they meant, but this year I was a little bit more aware. So green ones are for all ages. Blue ones are for teens, kind of tweens, teens. And then where's red one. Red ones are for adults. So interesting that one. I don't have one? That can't be right. I'm pretty sure I had some here. Some of them don't have it. But you can see what I got. Oh, there we go. Here's one of them. So it's red. Yeah, this is like cannibalism story. So yeah, not for everybody. Anyway, so we grabbed a bunch of these books, and you can see I'm just flipping through them right now. I mean, this is kind of insane. They're all Katie the Cat Sitter. My kids love this too. I think they've read Meow Max. They love Katie the Cat Sitter. Last Comics on Earth. I think it also was a young adult novel. Investigators is always a hit in my household. Animal Crossing. Unicorn Crush cracks them up, even though that unicorn is kind of a jerk. Initial D, Mad Magazine. I flipped through this to see if I could hand it over to my kids, but there's a lot of jokes in here that are just not for kids. I have a 8-year-old and an 11-year-old, and a few of these jokes are not for them just yet. Some Energon Universe stuff. This stuff is wreck and shop at the stores. At least Conspiracy Comics told me the Transformers Energon line is really selling well for them. Gotcha Man, old school, great cover. I don't think it's that inside, but it's pretty cool looking. Obviously target at old fogies like me. Blood Hunt, which is Marvel's new crossover, big crossover event. The relaunch of the Ultimate Universe, and Ninja Turtles comic, and Absolute Power. This is the summer crossover event for DC. I am not into any of these crossover events anymore. It's nice to get these on Free Comic Book Days just so I could see what's going on. They're interesting. Marvel's doing all of vampires, which is also interesting. I did not think it would be much of crossover material, but I guess they think it is. And, they got good writers going on there, really great artists. Absolute Power is about, I guess it's about a lot of other crossovers the DC universe has been going through now. And it's culminating to basically Amanda Waller doesn't like superheroes. So I think for both of these, I've kind of read these. I'm not bagging on them or anything like that, but I think I've kind of aged out of these kind of crossovers. They are fun. It's, it's going to be a great formula. I don't mind formula, especially when I come in there knowing it's just usually how formulas are executed. Manga has it too. Western comics have it too. I mean, if you know what sells, that's what you go for. And I kind of can get into it. It's just I'm older now, so I get a little bit more picky. Anyway, so that was our haul. But what I'm going to talk about today are the books that my kids liked. Not so much what I liked. I mean, yeah, I'll talk about them too. Sure, why not? But I always find it fascinating when I ask my kids, like, hey, what's the best of the pile? What do you think was really fun? Because I do not have their tastes. I really appreciate their stuff. This is kind of cool, this Animal Crossing one. I'm just flipping through comics here, guys, while I'm gabbing and ranting so you can kind of see. I don't have the same taste. And there's like a totally different market for them that never existed when I was reading comics. The closest thing I could think of is maybe Calvin and Hobbes, and that was awesome. But I could only read it in newspaper strips and Sunday funnies, basically. Sunday funnies, I call them funnies. But now you got graphic novels, totally different approaches, totally different styles that aren't like, my favorite roided out, muscle-bound heroes, which I still love. Dogman is Wreck and Shop, right? Like all this kind of stuff. And let's see, what did they decide on? So out of this big stack of stuff, I set it aside actually. I will also show you guys what I thought was pretty cool from this Free Comic Book Day stash. So let's set these aside. This is crazy times. And the first up would be, not turning red, Disney's Encanto. And this is like kind of a cool format. It's a larger size here. So let's bring some Initial D in here. It's a larger size magazine format, which is kind of cool. So the art can breathe pretty well. It's drawn pretty nicely, and it's tied into Encanto, the IP. There is another IP in here, Turning Red. They were not into this. I was not into this either. I love the movie. The movie was great. My daughter's getting older. Both of them are getting older, so it's kind of nice. There's this movie that they can watch that has like, will refer to these issues, right? These womanly issues. And it's great, it's also just a fun movie. And this is, I asked them about it because, it comes in a flip book format, which is nice. They like that. Flip it around and now you have another comic book. But, to them it was forgettable. They didn't say forgettable. It was fine. That's what they said. I think it was fine is what they said. They weren't very into it. But when I asked them, this was definitely one of them, Encanto. And the story is pretty simple. But it is a big chunk of story. I'm seeing, I'll show you guys. So this is like a good 20 pages. That is regular comic book size, right? 20 pages. So that's a good chunk of story, and they can kind of dig in here and get into it. It's drawn pretty well. The characters are recognizable, even though they're still pretty stylized from how they look like in the movies. And it's a story about somebody getting bullied, and then it doesn't get too serious. Like when I say bullied, it sounds like it's like a serious story. It is, but it approaches it with a lot of fun. It resolves itself within the framework of the story, so I think that's why my kids liked it, because they felt like they got a complete story. And it's a good tease. Like, you only see a couple of the characters from the movie, and that's it. It's actually the end, right? The end. And it's nice, one and done. But, and compare it to, well, actually, Turning Red is to be continued because it's a graphic novel. So it seems like it doesn't quite catch traction in the story. It has a few things in there, but I think because it's not made for an 8-page format, here's page 8, it doesn't get the kids hooked. Or at least that's what I felt. That's what my takeaway was. And then I talked to them about, so we also got Initial D because my wife is a car nut. So she was like, let's get Initial D. Okay. And, you know, I was kind of excited. I don't think I've ever read the manga. But there's only like, I mean, it looks great, by the way. It's the color. It's the first few pages, so it's in color. And, you know, this car is sick. Full double page spread. If you're a car nut, this is totally awesome. But it doesn't really tell you much about where this story would go. It's like a kid in school, which we know. And then they, hey, let's go race. And then, okay, that's it. I'm not sure it really helped push it to them. I think if you were into cars, maybe it would, but my kids didn't really care. I don't think they said much about this story either. But my point is, it was too short for it to make them go, that was great. Or that was fun. That was a favorite. That was memorable, right? It just didn't work. The other one, which I'm psyched that they liked, I try not to push these books. Any book to them, I just kind of grab a bunch and then just let them figure it out. What do you want? What do you like? And then, we'll take a look at it. The other one that they liked is Unico Awakening. And this is based on an old Osamu Tezuka book. I think it was The White Unicorn. And I guess adapted and written by Satin and drawn by Gurihiro. And Gurihiro, I know his stuff from Superman Smashes the Klan, and he's actually done all sorts of stuff until he drew that book. But of course, I'm a DC head, and I only have eyes for Superman, and that's when I saw, hey, this guy's pretty good. And they liked this. This is, okay, so here's another case. This book is, what is this? I ran out of page numbers, but it's around, so 18 right there. So it's probably 24. Yeah, 24, 26, 27 pages, like all the way to the back cover. They pushed it so that they could fit more. And this is a graphic novel as well. That's the first chapter of a graphic novel. So something worked right. They were like, this is the best for them. And then followed by Encanto. This is the best. And I read it and it's awesome. For my kids' recommendations, the artwork is really nice, very appealing, nice colors, cool character design. So it's about a unicorn that gets banished into another dimension by, I believe this is Venus, because she's jealous of what Unico can do. And it's interesting. There's like these flying moray eels, and it's well drawn, well composed, so it's easy to read. So that's another big thing. I mean, there are some cosmic concepts here that they say, how unicorns were made, the dawn of time, all that kind of stuff. Older beings, gods, Greek gods, and Roman gods, I guess. It's Venus. And all that kind of stuff is being thrown at you. Fairies and all that. So it's important that the read of this book is easy. And it is. And it flows. There's like a nice flow here when this character is it's almost like the woodsman in Red Riding Hood? No. In Snow White. Oh man, I am getting old. In Snow White, where he's supposed to take care of Snow White, but he has a heart. So just like this lady has a heart and cannot banish Unico. So the conceit is she takes Unico to a place that, Unico will forget, but once Unico starts remembering things, she takes him to another place and keeps going and going and going. And it's actually set up in the story that it's almost like this myth. So now I don't know what Tezuka's original book was. As a Tezuka fan, I should know. But it's a great device because now you can the device that Unico has to go into these different worlds gets taken from them, forgets and restarts, and then has new adventures. It's a great way to bridge that into the old story because those stories happened a long time, like in the 70s or maybe even older. And now this is just another part of that story. And now Unico is now in modern times because it keeps happening forever and ever. And now we can introduce a new set of characters, modern world, and all that kind of stuff. And it looks great. See? Just let you soak in some of this awesomeness. It looks cool. Very appealing. Clean colors. Great characters. Cool character designs. Based off Tezuka's stuff. And modernized a bit. But this big bow, I think I remember from this character from way back when. Cool. And like I said, like really cool, like fantasy elements here. Right? That's pretty darn cool. Anyway, it ends on a cliffhanger, but everything has been set in this book. And I think that's the common theme that's going on here. Why they like Encanto and why they liked Unico. It sets up the book so that when this book or graphic novel does come out, they have enough to hold on to and go, oh yeah, that was cool. And now I want to read the whole thing. And that is exactly what they say. I want to read the second issue because they think there's going to be another issue of this. And that was what they said about Unico. So, alright, those were the two that my kids loved out of that crazy stack that I just showed you guys. My eldest has torn through a lot of these books already. And other ones I don't think she's not into it. She will read anything, to be honest. Just certain ones she will not. So, next up is my favorite of all of them that actually got me to audibly go, whoa, that's cool, was I Lie, Popeye by Marcus Williams. And I had no idea this was coming out. So I think that's part of the fun. But it's Popeye reimagined in anime format. And it's just the coolest thing. You guys can probably hear it in my voice. I'm like stammering. This is so cool. It's Popeye. I don't really know who the target market is for this. It obviously works off of the conceit that you kinda should know that Popeye gets strong when he eats a can of spinach. And that's just how it is. And also the part that how does Popeye's pipe get into his mouth from this side of his face? And I saw this after I had read the book and I was like, oh, that's interesting. So I had to Google it up and sure enough, the original Popeye's pipe is stuck on the side of his face. It's just now that he's a little bit more modeled and real, now you kind of notice it more. It's cool and that's Popeye. My daughter picked up on it too and she was like, he has two mouths. In any case, that was a good observation. But when I saw this, I was like, yeah, this is freaking Popeye. And it's totally anime, but it's still Popeye. It starts off with this like crazy cosmic thing. He's beat up and spinach is out. And then it flashes back to 24 hours ago and tells you. So the idea behind this story, at least for this one, is that there are points of view. There's a reporter that comes by and then asks Popeye how he lost his eye, and other people will tell stories about how they remember him losing his eye. It's almost like that episode in Batman where all the criminals are talking about how they almost got Batman roundtable. You know, it's like that format of storytelling, which I think like Dick Tracy has had and other things. But it's great because now it's with Popeye and how he lost his eye. It's funny because I never really thought about that as a kid. Popeye was like one of my favorites. I would watch the animated cartoon. I'd read his comics. And, how did he lose his eye? No idea. Anyway, you know, Olive Oyl gets her shot, and I just like this Olive Oyl. She's just super cute. You know, Olive Oyl, in the original strip, I was like, man, she is kind of always in distress and a little annoying and grating. So this is like a lot more fun to me. Like I was like, all right, yeah, I like this Olive Oyl. She's fun. She's not annoying. Sorry, Olive Oyl. Sorry, original Olive Oyl. And, you know, it's cool. Bluto is here, and he's cool. The character design for Bluto is just a lot of fun. And Popeye doesn't actually talk a lot in this comic, but, you know, but he's just kind of listening. But he will have that sailor accent where he's like, what does he say? Like, holds down scum minutes. That's my terrible Popeye impression. But, you know, it is spelled that way too. And I don't know if anybody knows that. If like a new reader's like, why does he talk like that? I guess because he has a pipe in his mouth. But in any case, Bluto has his own story. And, you know, there's like anime action going on here with this punch with his like spiral punch into the thing. It gets even better, guys. So I'm not even done. And, okay. So again, all these like references to all these old characters. And this is the Jeep, which is like this small, cute pet character. Now it's like this crazy gargoyle that he's fighting with. He did have magic powers. And Wimpy's here, always talking about burgers. And that's always fun. And I'm going to spoil it for you, but this reporter turns out to be the Sea Hag's apprentice. The Sea Hag. That is old school, guys. So this is totally hitting me in all the nostalgia buttons, but I love it because it's redone. It's remixed, and I hope kids will read it, but even just me reading it, like, it grabs my attention because it's like, yeah, this is cool. It's not old school feeling anymore. This is Popeye. Modern style Popeye. And the dynamics of the characters holds up. You know, all of that holds up. The comedy fits right in there. And so does the action, which I've always loved about Popeye. Cause he's just punch fools. Anyway, so, you know, the bad guy comes out. Here's Popeye like, let me get him. And he's like, nah, let me do this. And Bluto looks cool, man. I mean, look at that. Look at that. Bluto? Is it Bluto or is it Brutus? I remember I was getting confused about that when I was a kid. I believe it's Bluto. Anyway, you know, anime punch, boom, and then nothing happens, and Bluto gets thrown into a truck. Yeah. I mean, it's just cool, awesome stuff, right? It's a little bit more anime violence, and it's so fun. The artist, like, puts this cape, and he has this thing, right? Like sailors, but he makes it fly like it's a cape when he powers up, basically. This is him without spinach, by the way. And it's just action, action, action. You know, boom, 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 boom. This anime pacing, like, you know, quick, 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 and lines, speed lines, like, just fun. Manga style, giant action things getting broken. Like, nowadays, superhero comics are very careful not to break things or to rip into cars and stuff like that. It just doesn't seem... definitely the movies, people have like outrage over things getting broken, but I always love that about superhero comics. Stuff gets broken. Popeye breaks things. You know, here comes Bluto punching, throwing his best punches, and gets headbutt back and down into the ground. Alright, I'm getting to the good part. Sorry, I'm just like reading out this comic book for you. But anyway, he has like a special spinach thing. He's got a little, One Piece action, but Popeye does this. You know what I mean? And it fits. It's not just stolen from, you know, Luffy or but it's depicted in this manga style that just looks so good. And Popeye does wind up his punches. And it is like a tornado. And it is like a tornado right there. So this comic just had me. Can you tell? It just totally had me. It's just so cool. I was like, I'm sold. I want to buy this. And I think because I was so excited about it, this is the one time I kind of let my guard down around my kids, and they could see like I'm so excited about it. I never want to influence what they think is like. I like seeing what they like, and I like getting into what they like and understanding it for what they like. But I showed a little bit of my nerd with this comic, and my eldest was like, yeah, that's pretty good. So I'll use that as an excuse to maybe try to pick this up. Anyway, so I guess Popeye is 95 years old. 5 years from now, he's gonna be public domain, and anybody can do Popeye stuff. But this would be a good way to go, I think, for Popeye and future Popeye. Such a great character. And it's awesome that he's still ticking. I mean, nobody really knows Popeye anymore. But I love that he's coming back, even just in comic book format. See? Pipe is right behind his cheek. Where does that go into? How does that work? It doesn't matter. It's Popeye. Anyway, so that was my pick for free comic book day. And you could see I had a stack of this stuff. So I bought something to get an extra 5 books. I was not trying to get an extra 5 books, to be honest with you. But the guy was like, hey, you bought something. Why don't you get another 5? So that's why I have so many free comic book books. And that's why it is fun. Free comic book day is just a lot of fun. It's, still is magical for me. It's just whenever I see a lot of people in the comic book store, kids especially, it does my heart good. I would like to think at least one of those kids would get into some of these books, read graphic novels of them, and, hopefully support their local shop. But yeah, I don't know. I hope so. Let's end it on a hopeful note. Actually, I will show you the book that I picked up, and I'll probably, maybe I'll try to do a Comics Rant mini on this book just because it's so awesome. So, I wanted to support the store, Conspiracy Comics, so I could support it. I mean, I'm not rich. By the way, I lost my job last week, so I'm not rich. So I had to find a book that was kind of within budget. And this was a simple $5 purchase. And that was, I squeaked by with that with my wife. Don't worry about me. I'm looking for a job. It will be fine. And Comics Rant will always be ranting. Jobless or job full. Don't you worry. Anyway, Transformers by Daniel Warren Johnson. This stuff rocks and is so good. I'm glad I picked it up. I'm not into the licensed stuff, to be honest. The IP licensed stuff, even Ninja Turtle stuff, even though I do enjoy the comics that kind of come out of there. But this was Daniel Warren Johnson, so I had to pick it up. And it's fantastic looking. And I think it's like he retells the story from the cartoons, but, modernizes a bit, but the characters are definitely them. It's, Spike and I forgot his dad's name. Sparkplug? Spikes? No, Sparky? I can't remember. Anyway, the humans that are in the cartoon are there. It starts off, they fall through this mountain, and I do remember that happening with his dad. And, the Autobots and Decepticons had a huge fight in the ship, and then everybody gets revived, but it's just pulled off in this really great Daniel Warren Johnson style. So, Daniel Warren Johnson's style is so awesome. I love his stuff. He's one of the modern comic artists that I like reading, and I think everybody in the comic book industry and fans love his stuff too. And it's interesting because his style is organic, so you would not think that drawing robots would be up his alley, but I heard like an interview. It's so awesome. He just suplexes Starscream. And I think that he does do something like that in the movie, right? In any case, this is definitely a nostalgia trip. It hits all the right cylinders. Gets on the, fires on all cylinders, hits all the right buttons. And it's fun. And it's modernized enough that it's not just a frame by frame rip of whatever of the show, right? I mean, and it's just presented in Daniel Warren Johnson's style, and it's just kinetic, you know, and it's just great. It's just so great to look at. I mean, look at that. That's just so cool. I love this like lettering. Wow. And I totally got nostalgia. Oh, and this cool, I like, the reveal of this page when I flipped it, and it's just sideways, and I was just like, oh yeah, that's just cool. I mean, you know, there's something to be said about that in physical comics as opposed to like your phone. It is the most annoying thing to change the orientation of your phone to look at something, but in comics, it's special. I don't know why, but it's special. And you know, the image is special too. It looks just so cool. And they're like jumping off stuff, you know, Autobots, Decepticons, everything. And I'm like hearing the cartoon voices of Starscream, mostly Starscream. And it doesn't just lean on that. I think that's what I'm trying to say here. It doesn't just lean on that. And it's not just, it's in there, obviously. The Soundwave is a tape deck. But it's just the art is so engaging and the storytelling is just so well done. It's fast. It moves quick, right? You get like a quick intro to the family, the girlfriend, in 4 or 5 pages, and then it starts. They fall through this is the 6th page. They fall through and they see robots. You are 7 and 8 pages in and you are in. You know, and then it's fighting. Action, pow, pow, pow. This is Daniel Warren Johnson, right? And it's just so fun. Anyway, this was my purchase for Free Comic Book Day. And I hope you guys enjoyed my quick, I guess it's 30 minutes now, not very quick, rant on all the comics that came out. I hope you guys were out for Free Comic Book Day. You could probably go to your comic book shop, local comic book shop, and pick up some of these already. They have a lot. They have a lot. Try to support them because, you know, each of these free comic books, they pay for. They pay for this stuff. You know, it is a marketing expense. You could think about it that way, but comic book shops are not making a lot of money. So, pick up something. Just one issue. Even Transformers. Anyway, that's it for this episode. I will see you guys next time. Thank you for joining me on Comic Rant.